Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 10 a.m. session on day 2 of the Growth Club. You've just come out of our opening keynote, possibly with Jared. I hope you enjoyed that session. Our conversation on AI continues, except this time we're also throwing in pricing. Now, for those that don't know that you can do this, you can upload service libraries into ChatGPT, pricing, previous things you might have had clients pay for, and then use AI to help you formulate out and become your pricing coach, helping you how to package, position, and communicate things. And we're going to deep dive on that today with Mark Wickersham. Now, Mark spoke yesterday and did an amazing job, so I hope you enjoyed his session yesterday. He's back on day 2 with the official title of ChatGPT as your pricing coach. So if you have struggled with pricing in your firm, this is going to be the session for you. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So welcome to the Growth Club. If this is somehow your first session, we're so glad you're here. If this is your 5th or 7th session, I'm so glad you're still here as well. We're talking all things workflow, AI, compliance, productivity, and in this session in particular, we're talking about pricing. All of our sessions are recorded, and that is thanks to the team at Vinyl. Vinyl is an AI note taker. If you're not aware, you can check them out. They record all your sessions for accounting and bookkeeping, and they're recording all of our sessions here at the summit, where you will be able to get the transcripts and the summaries from every session that we run here at the Growth Club. So if you want to get even more insights and value out of the content, you're going to be able to do exactly that. There is one CPD point available thanks to the team at AccrediWise. We'll have information on how to get access to that after this summit. And we are giving you a chance to win up to $500. All you need to do is share yourself on social media, particularly on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, tag the firm or Facebook. We'll take Facebook using hashtag Growth Club, and just tell us if you're having a good time. Tell us about the session you're learning from. Huge thanks to our partners, in particular Intuit. Thank you for backing the Growth Club. We appreciate your support. Huge thank you to all of our other partners on the summit. They've had content running yesterday and today, and they're doing some wonderful things in our industry. And I think they're worth checking out. We only try to work with the best partners that we think are adding a lot of value, and in particular, this group is they're doing an amazing job. So go and check them all out. Go and see what you think. I'm going to now hand over to Mark. So Mark, your session, ChatGPT is your pricing coach, how to package, position, and communicate your value. I will hand it over to you. I'll let you now share your screen and we will take it away. Enjoy. I'll chat to you all soon at the end.
Hey, it's good to be back at the Growth Club Summit, and today I'm going to be talking about how we can use ChatGPT as your pricing coach. I did a session yesterday which was all about value pricing, the foundations of value pricing, and how to use value pricing to price our core services, bookkeeping and your financial statements. So if you missed that session, I do recommend you catch up on that. I think the recording is available because today's really going to build on that. I'm going to build on those foundations from yesterday, and we're going to look at how we can start to build up our pricing systems using ChatGPT, or if you prefer, any large language model. So I will refer to ChatGPT because it's my personal favorite. It is often ranked as the best in all of the tests. I also know from teaching for the last 2 years on ChatGPT that most accounting firms use it. So I'll go with that. But just so you know, if you do prefer Claude, if you prefer Gemini, then everything I'm going to talk about today is equally applicable. Okay. So when I say ChatGPT, please remember, I actually mean whatever your favorite large language model is. Now, if you didn't see yesterday's session, just a quick bit of background to me. I am a chartered accountant. I'm from the UK. You can perhaps tell by the accent. Although I now live in Portugal, have done for 5 years. I entered the profession way back now in, 1988, I forget, it's that long ago. And then I qualified as a chartered accountant in 1991, started my own accounting firm as a sole practitioner in 1996, made every mistake you can think of in the first 3 years, grew too fast, but didn't get my pricing right. And it wasn't until the end of 1999 I discovered value pricing. I met my now friend and mentor, Ron Baker. He introduced me to value pricing way back now in 1999. And that turned my practice around. And I've been teaching value pricing now for the last, well, two and a half decades. And I've helped thousands and thousands of accounting firms around the world get better results with value pricing. It's what I'm known for. I founded the Value Pricing Academy in 2014. But I'm also well known for teaching firms how to implement ChatGPT. I became fascinated with it when it first came out. And for the last couple of years, particularly fascinated by prompt engineering. I teach prompt engineering. How can we craft better prompts so that we get better results out of our AI systems? And so today we'll be looking at how we can do that with the subject of pricing. But let's just have a quick recap from yesterday with some of the foundations of value pricing that we absolutely need to be aware of. And I said that one of the things that we need to do as a profession is increase our prices. Most accountants I speak to, most bookkeepers I speak to tell me that they are working crazy hard, long hours, and not making enough money, which was me back in 1998, 1999. Back then in 98, I was working longer hours than when I had a job as a corporation tax manager, longer hours, and I was making less money. It was crazy. I had more money as a manager in a large accounting firm than I did for the first few years of my accounting business, and I'm not alone in that. I know that many people are like that. They are working too long and not making enough. And the root cause of that is pricing. We are not pricing right and we are too cheap. I have not yet met an expensive accountant outside the Big Four. And so we need to put our prices up. The trouble is when I tell people that, they say, Mark, you don't understand. My clients are price sensitive. And in yesterday's session, I explained why that is the single biggest pricing myth in our profession. We do not have price sensitive clients. Absolutely, we don't have price sensitive clients. What we do have is value sensitive clients. And when we understand the definition of price sensitivity and value sensitivity, and when we start to understand the components of the value equation, we then realize that everything changes. You see, the value equation at its simplest is essentially that when any of us buy anything, if we are value sensitive, then in our minds, we basically make a judgment. We think about, well, what is the benefit to me of acquiring that thing? And what is the cost to acquire it, which is typically the price. And as long as there's a big enough gap between the price and the benefit, we will buy it. A good example is I bought this iPhone 16. I think it was last year. And in Europe, in Portugal, where I live, this was, I think, something around about 1,300 euros. Apple are very, very good with their pricing. They know how to extract the maximum amount of money out of a customer. Now, when I bought this at the time, I did a subconscious calculation that for me, the value of this phone to me, because it does amazing things like video and I love photography, for me, this was the benefit to me was more than the price I would have paid. I could have bought a cheaper phone. If I was price sensitive, I could have bought a Motorola for probably a tenth of the price. But I don't see any value in a Motorola phone, one of those little flip phones. I love what the iPhone does, and I see value in that. So we are value sensitive, and your clients are value sensitive, which means that we have to change the way that we present our price. We have to be confident about our price. And I also talked about how we have to become better at communicating value. I believe that value pricing is more important today than it ever has been before. It's always been important, and I've seen over the years that I've been teaching value pricing that firms that have moved to value pricing, they make more money. And they attract better quality clients as well because they're focused on value, not on time and efficiencies. But I would argue that value pricing is more important than it's ever been before. And the reason for that is because of this AI world that we are living in. And I've been following this for the last couple of years, and the pace of change is extraordinary. I can't imagine what 2030 is going to look like. Neither can the experts in the AI space because of this huge acceleration we are seeing. One thing I am very confident of is that much of the traditional data entry and compliance work that we do in the profession today will be something that is a thing of the past by 2030, and possibly well before then, I believe. Bookkeeping, completing tax returns. I believe that will be completely done by AI. In fact, the experts do put accountants and bookkeepers near the top of the list of people who will be redundant. So, which is scary, but I'm also an optimist. I think this is a huge opportunity for accounting firm owners that want to grasp the opportunities we are presented with AI. It means that we can start doing different things for clients. We can create more value. We can move up the value curve, as Ron Baker talks about. And when we do that, we can start to earn more money. So I am very excited by the profession. But value pricing is more important than ever because as AI automates more stuff, and this is going to happen, that means the time to do things, like the time to reconcile a bank account, to complete a set of financial statements, to complete a tax return, it's going to go down significantly. And it may well be that many of those things will be automated to the extent where we can press a button. And we've seen this in the past with other services. And so what will happen is as the time goes down, those accounting firms out there, there's other firms that are clinging to the timesheet, that are pricing based on the hour, they will find that there will be increasing downward pressure on price to the stage where eventually some of these core services will be given away for free. And you might say, Mark, that'll never happen. But it's already happened. It's happened with other services in the past. Let me give you an example. So when I entered the profession back in 1988 as a junior trainee in a large multi-partner firm, in 1988, this 8-partner firm did not have a single computer. Hard to believe now. They had a word processing department. And the way that financial statements were done is we would create an extended trial balance. That was a great big sheet of paper. You may remember it if you're as old as me, where you had columns for opening balances and there was debits and credits and so on. There was some fancy stuff you did that ended up with the closing trial balance. And what would then happen is I had a very important job in the first year where the manager would give me last year's financial statements and I would go down, I would take a photocopy of them in the photocopying room, get that white stuff out called Tipex and Tipex out all the numbers, and then once it's dried, go back to the photocopying room and take a photocopy without the numbers in from last year's accounts. And then what would happen is somebody more important than me would take that trial balance and write all of the numbers onto the financial statements. And that would then get shipped down to the word processing department. When they came back from word processing, I had a job called calling over. I would find another junior, another trainee. We would go to a quiet room. One of us would have the copy that was given to the word processing department. That's the copy with the manually written numbers. And the other would be given the set from word processing. And what would happen is we would go through line by line, reading out the numbers to the other to make sure that the word processing department hadn't mistyped the numbers. That was calling over. Perhaps you remember those days if you're old like me. Now, in the UK, and I think this is universal, for a corporate business, in the UK that's called a limited company, in the US perhaps an S Corp or C Corp. For a corporate, one of the things in the UK is if you're a small firm, which is most small companies, they do not have to file full accounts on company's record. They can file what at the time was called abbreviateds, which basically means that all small family-owned companies didn't have to put on public record the profit and loss account, which is great. It means their competitors couldn't see how much money they were making or not making. So this was valuable, being able to file abbreviated financial statements. Now, of course, this was time consuming because once again, we had to photocopy last year's, use the Tipex, wait till it dries, write in the numbers, go to word processing. And so time was spent creating these cut down abbreviated financial statements. And back in 1988, 1989, in that accounting firm, when the work was finished, at the end, they would send a nice itemized bill listing all the things that they did. And for every corporate, there was a line item that said abbreviated financial statements, and it was typically £400. Now, in today's money, that should be probably $800 in dollars, perhaps let's call it $1,000. So Every single company was charged an extra $1,000 because we had to create the abbreviated financial statements. It was worth paying. There was value because it meant the company didn't have to disclose sensitive information to competitors. Now let's just fast forward to the early 90s. We started to see software come out, originally DOS software and then Windows for doing accounts production. And what would happen is you would use the software to build the trial balance, to create the statutory financial statements, and then there became a button in the software that would say, do you want abbreviated financial statements? And you would press that button or tick the checkbox, and within seconds there would also be the abbreviated financial statements. In other words, the time to create them had gone from a time-consuming process to zero. In the 2000s, in the UK, I did a number of benchmarking studies to find out how much firms of accountants charged for various services. And one of the interesting things in many of those surveys, I would ask the question, what do you charge for abbreviated financial statements? And almost every single firm, the answer was zero. They never charged. And when I asked firms, the reason was, well, why? It doesn't take any time whatsoever. It's a button in the software. It's a byproduct of the full accounts. Here's the interesting thing, though. When we compare the mid-2000s to 1988, how has the value to the customer changed from being able to not disclose sensitive information to customers? How has the value changed? The value has not changed in the slightest. The reason why we don't charge for it is because technology has reduced the time to zero. And there are other examples of that happening. It happens, and usually we're unaware because it happens slowly. And I know that when AI does more and more of the data entry, the bank reconciliations, the bookkeeping, the data entry, and so on, we will find that bit by bit, the prices will come down. And there will probably come a time where it may well be that the bookkeeping we do for free because a byproduct of something else. It's happened in the past, it'll happen in the future. And therefore, value pricing is more important than ever. We have to price based on the value to the customer. We should be charging $1,000 extra to every corporate for the privilege of them not having to file sensitive information, but we give it away for free. So, value pricing is critical. I said in yesterday's session there were 3 steps that we have to go through as we move towards value pricing. One is we have to create more value. The more value we create, the more we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. The more value we create, I believe the better job we do for the customer, the more the customer's happy when we create more value, and we can charge higher prices. So creating more value is really important. Secondly, I talked about customers want choice. And we talked yesterday about this idea of menu pricing, of creating 3 different options. And all the most successful companies on the planet do exactly this. So Apple, for example, if you go to their website to buy an iMac computer, they give you a choice of 3 packages. Why? Because this is so powerful. The most expensive coffee shop on the planet is Starbucks. When you go to buy a latte, you get a choice of 3 different packages. In that case, it's size. Do you want the grande? Do you want the venti? Or just the tall? That's the short one. I don't get that. Anyway, we all do it. If Intuit, QuickBooks, you go to, if you're a business and you go to their website, you will see 3 to 4 different choices. So that was step number 2. Customers want choice, and so we have to figure out at least how to create packages. Yesterday, I looked at other ways we can do that as well, and we talked about why that is so powerful for getting higher prices. And then number 3, we have to deal with the fact that customers often say that's too expensive, which is they say that's too expensive when they do not understand the value. And so we have to become better at building up value. So if you missed that, catch up with yesterday's session. What I want to do now is get really practical. We are going to look at how we can use AI to help us with those steps and build up value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a case study for this. And if I just hop across, I've just chosen a random business from somewhere in the world. This happens to be a business from Canada, and I've gone to their website. They offer payroll services, and they list on the website what they do as part of their payroll. Pretty common situation. And as I read this, I'm thinking, if I'm a business owner, I look at this and I don't understand any of that. Their features, I don't see the benefit of that, and I know they could create much more value. They could communicate value better. I hope this isn't your website. But I see this everywhere. I see that what we put on our websites is kind of okay, but not great. So let's look at how we could improve things. And what we're going to do is go to ChatGPT and run a prompt to help us come up with ways to add more value. And I'm going to do that by using a standard prompt. One of the things that I am a big fan of is using what I call prompt templates, i.e. standard prompts that we can cut and paste and use whenever we need them, and we just have to change a few minor details. Anything that you do regularly, frequently, like for example, if you want to take each of your services right now and future services to add more value, then the prompt I'm going to show you is one that you may want to run on a regular basis. So let's keep it somewhere, and I suggest you build up a prompt library. And we can do that in all sorts of ways. I've in the past used Trello as a prompt library. Some people use Notion. I happen to build this. This is a software that I make available to my customers because I've created over the last year or so over 100 specific prompts for accounting firms covering pricing, marketing, content creation, business advisory, and much, much more. And what this prompt library allows us to do is to organize our prompts, to add new prompts, and most importantly, to make it really, really easy and save time whenever we want to do a particular task. So let me go and just filter for a minute to the pricing prompts, and I'm just going to look at some of them, the ones I'm going to show today. So I've got 3 prompts here. And we're going to look at, I think we're going to look at package, no, we're going to look at product value adder first. So when I go into the prompt library, I can see some information about the prompt at the top, but most of the prompt is here. You will see it's a long prompt, and the reason it's a long prompt is because one of the things we learn about prompt engineering is the more specificity, the more detailed our prompts, the more predictable the output, the better quality the output. And I see these standard prompts as being little mini systems. I'm sure you get the idea of systems, why they are so important in any business, SOPs if you like. So all I would do is go to and find the prompt, and all I have to do is select copy as markdown to clipboard. So I'm going to copy that right now. And now I'll go across to ChatGPT, I'll start a new prompt, do Control V, and there is the prompt. Now I'm going to explain some of this prompt to you, but let me just first go to the end, because one of the things that I do to make it easy to use these as template prompts, it means we don't want to have to change everything and rewrite it every time we use it. We just want to change the things that vary, variables. And so what I usually do is put variables at the end. And there were 3 in this particular case. We need to tell ChatGPT what sort of firm are we, what sort of business, what sort of service are we offering, and what are the current features. And so just to save you watching me type, I'm just going to fill in those variables. So let's imagine that you are a small accounting firm and we want to improve and add more value to our service of delivering a payroll solution. And then I've simply listed here what we currently do. So if I go back to, I went back to this firm in Canada and I put what they currently do as part of their service, and I put it, into here. Okay, let's just go back to the top for a second and let me just talk through some of the elements of this prompt. So you'll see it says you are a product manager specializing in service design with expertise in customer-centric product development and feature prioritization. One of the things we learned from prompt engineering is that when we give the LLM a role to play, we get a better result. We get a more nuanced result. We would get the sort of result that we would expect from a product manager. Similarly, if you were creating a financial report, perhaps summarizing end-of-year financial statements, if you tell ChatGPT to act as a financial accountant skilled in analyzing financial data, you would get a different result than if you just left that blank. Because the default role of a large language model, certainly ChatGPT, is a personal assistant, a helpful assistant. And it's a very good helpful assistant, but you will find you get a better result when you ask it to play a role. So every prompt I create, it has a particular appropriate role. Then we have our task. And in this case, the task is to improve a service offering for a business type. And this is the variable. This is for a small accounting firm in this case. Your task is to improve the service offering for a small accounting firm that delivers a payroll solution. This is the second variable. I'm going to provide you a list of essential features. That's the third variable. So we put variables in because it means that you could then run this prompt multiple times and all you have to do is change the variables at the end. It could be you just change the features for different services. But equally, some really smart firms are using some of these prompts for business advisory and running them for their clients. And then all they have to do is say a service offering for a software company, a roofing business. And you just have to put it at the end rather than going through the entirety of the prompt and finding all the variables and changing them. You do it once at the end. It saves so much time. That's variables. Okay, so we've got our task description, what we want ChatGPT to do. I've also been a bit specific in terms of exactly how I want it to write this list of extra added value features. I've given it an example of the sort of response I want, because one of the things we know from prompt engineering is that when you give examples, you get better results, because what LLMs do, large language models, is they look for patterns, and examples is a great way of giving patterns. It also says use the examples to guide your response. Never repeat the essential features, just give me the additional features to enhance the service. And then we've got an examples, and this is the reason why it's a long prompt in this case. Most of this prompt is simply me providing examples based upon my 25 years of teaching value pricing and studying communication strategies and studying price psychology. I just put into these prompts some of the things that I've been teaching over the years with value pricing. Okay, so let's run this prompt because I've talked for long enough. Let's see what it does. But let me also just recap what we've done. We've gone to a prompt library. We've searched for the prompt we want, which may have taken probably 15 seconds. We've hit the copy to clipboard. We've pasted it into here. We've then filled in the three variables at the end. In other words, it's probably about 1 minute. And then we wait for ChatGPT to do its thing. So let's go. I'm just using the 4.0 model. And as I press this, it's now going to set off and build this out. And if you've used LLMs, you'll know it's extremely fast. It's probably going to take I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. In other words, in less than 2 minutes, when you've got the right prompt, in less than 2 minutes, it's brainstormed and come up with a list of other possible things that we could do to add value as part of this firm's service of doing payroll. It's come up with some great ideas. We could do a payroll setup consultation. We could do real-time pay run previews, payroll calendar planning, support with employee onboarding and offboarding. We could do year-end payroll review meetings, employee benefits and deductions guidance, custom payroll reports, support for payroll audits and CRA queries. Remember, this is Canada, a Canadian firm. Holiday and statutory pay tracking, optional payslip messaging and servicing. And at this stage, you might decide that some of those things are great, some perhaps less so. That's fine. You can then refine that list with ChatGPT. You could say, please repeat that list, but I want to remove the custom payroll reports and the holiday and statutory pay tracking because I don't want to do those, but add in this extra idea. So we can refine it. But let's imagine we are happy with that. Let's imagine that they all sound like great additional features to add more value to our payroll service. So that's the first thing that we've done. We've created more value. So let's now look at what else could we do. We could now work on how do we communicate the value of things that we offer. And to some extent, this prompt goes some way of doing that. You'll see that it says, in this case, payroll setup consultation. We will meet with you before the first payroll run to fully understand your team structure, pay policies, deadlines, and reporting needs. This ensures your payroll runs smoothly from the start and avoids costly mistakes. The language here is carefully chosen. What we're doing is we are using a technique called turning features into benefits, and there's certain language patterns that we can use. Essentially, what we want to do is recognize that clients don't always understand what things mean. If I go back to here, for example, it says here, let me pick this one. Our payroll service in Canada maintains detailed payroll records and prepares accurate year-end T4 slips for your staff. I have no idea what a T4 slip is. Perhaps if I was a Canadian business, perhaps I would, but if I was a business new to hiring people, I'd be thinking, well, what is that? I don't get that. I don't know why it's important to me. And if I don't understand why it's important to me as a business owner, then I'm not going to see the value. Okay, and so a lot of the wording here is kind of okay, but it doesn't really communicate the value. So we can improve that. We can improve this value communication with a prompt. So I'm going to go back to the prompt library and I'm going to pick one called value communication. And I just need to go to the bottom of here and copy the markdown, which is done, to go over to here. I'll keep it in the same prompt. I'll do Control V and paste it in. Well, I will then go to the bottom and I will change the variables. Okay, so let me just grab where I'd written them down earlier and then I will put them in here. Okay, let's just quickly explain the variables. It's not done that what I wanted. Let's just go back, delete that again, Control V. That's better. Okay, so we've now got the variables, which is service payroll. I put in here in this one, what's the unique selling point? So I've said 24-hour turnaround, which means we promise to process your payroll the next business day. We should always try to think about how we can be better than everybody else. What could be our unique selling points? So the prompts for that. And then we have the description of what we've currently got on the website, which is this website here. So I've just taken that text and I've put it in here. So what this is going to do, this prompt, it's going to improve the wording to build up the value of our description of the existing stuff. It's going to ignore the first prompt because that's separate. And you might be asking the question, if you're familiar with large language models, why are we putting in, for example, the service again? Because within the context of a chat, ChatGPT knows the previous conversation. So why didn't we just say the service that we're now talking about in this chat? Why do we put that in again? And the reason for that is the reason I do this with these prompts is because you could run this particular prompt in a brand new chat standalone. So obviously we need to put in what the service is that we're talking about. That's why sometimes you will see if I'm repeating sometimes the variable, it's not because ChatGPT doesn't know from the chat, it's because I create prompts to be used in isolation as a one-off, because it may be that you don't want to do the brainstorming and adding value piece that we did first. You just simply want to start off by how can you better communicate your existing service? And that's what this one does. Let's go back to the top. I won't go through it in as much detail, but let's just show you a few things. So again, this time it's a different role we're asking it to play. Before it was a product designer, now it's a product marketer, because now we're into marketing, it's words. And I want it to act as a product marketer specializing in financial services with expertise in highlighting benefits and unique selling points of product features. And then it says the task is to enhance the product description, which is the variable we have, that being the words here. Let's enhance that, highlighting the benefits of each feature, and you must also highlight the unique selling point. And then we've got some further instructions about writing tone and so on. And then again, this one's quite a short prompt. So this is very short as my prompts go, but what makes it long is I've put in examples of the wording, and I've put in, I think, 4 or 5 different examples, so it knows exactly what we're looking for. Let's run this and see what it does. Okay, so we are now improving the wording of our payroll service. And so it says, let's take the first one. Direct deposit payments to employees. We process payroll payments via direct deposit, ensuring that your employees are paid accurately and on time every time. This eliminates the need for manual payments or checks, reducing errors and administrative overheads. The result is greater employee satisfaction and a more professional payroll experience. So me as a business owner who knows nothing about what direct deposit payments means to me, what I'm now seeing is this means my employees will be happier as much as anything. I'm now seeing the benefit, and that helps me understand the value of it. So if we take the next one, online employee portal for pay slips and tax slips. Each employee receives secure access to a serve online portal where they can view and download their pay slips, T4s and tax documents at any time. This convenience reduces HR inquiries, empowers your team with transparency, and supports paperless operations. Great. I don't want to have HR inquiries. That sounds scary and stuff. If that's going to reduce that, that must be valuable. So can you see the words are really important, how we build this up? And this was done in seconds. I mean, within 2 minutes, we'd copy and paste a prompt, we'd run it for a service, and then you could just do this with every other service you offer and very quickly improve the communication, the words that you use. Okay, let's do one more. So if I think about the 3 core ways we talked about of moving to value pricing, one was we need to create more value in the first place. Number 2 is we need to communicate the value. And the third one is we want to give people choice. And this is the idea of menu pricing. So let's take what we've done. And let's start to build out some packages. And this can be quite a long job if you do it yourself. It's a case of thinking about what would you put in the packages. And there is a process that I've been teaching for a couple of decades on how you do this. There is a right and a wrong way to build packages. And we're not going to go through that now because we're running out of time. But the great news is we can build that into a prompt. So let me go back to here and I'm going to go to Package Builder, Expert version. I'm going to go to copy the markdown. I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. Let's just paste that one in. So this is our third prompt. And let's go to the bottom first because I always fill in the variables straight away, just in case I forget later and run the prompt, which then won't make much sense. So just bear me a second. I'm just copying what the variables are, and then I'll talk you through them. So with this particular prompt, you can run this as a standalone because it says the features, you can either list them here or list in the previous response. I'm just going to list them. So let's just go through the variables quickly. It starts with number of tiers. So in other words, how many packages are we building? And I always recommend to people that if you're new to menu pricing, as I call it, start with 3. Think of it as the bronze, silver, gold. And there's a reason for that. It's called the magic of 3, and therefore start with 3. There are some reasons when you start to understand the science of menu pricing. There are some reasons why you might want 4, you might want 5, but let's keep it simple for now. 3 is a great place to start. We want our bronze, silver, gold. And we've now got our business type, small accounting firm. And I know we put that in the first variable, in the first prompt, but remember I've designed these to be run as standalone prompts. I could have started a brand new chat and I'd probably get just as good a result. Service outcome, likewise, we've covered that before, but I'm repeating it. And then we're listing the features. And what I've done here is I've listed the things we currently do, which are on the website. And I then added to this list some or all the things from not our first prompt, but the previous time I ran this. So we're going to do some extra things like year-end reconciliation service. We're going to do things like seamless integration with accounting software, proactive compliance monitoring. So you would just add the list of the various things you're going to do as part of the service. Let's go back to the top. And so we're acting as a pricing consultant specialized in value-based pricing with expertise in tiered pricing structures. We've then got the task, which is to allocate them across, in this case, 3 different packages. And this particular prompt has a series of steps. So I want it to, first of all, identify a likely customer avatar. One of the things that's very important when you build out your packages is to build out packages that meets the specific needs and characteristics of different types of clients. Most people ignore that step and they build random packages, and that harms your ability to convert. People don't buy if the packages don't make sense to them. So that's why step 1 is really important, and I've specified how to lay that out. In step 2, I then want it to create 3 packages in this case by allocating the features to the most suitable package based on the likely customer avatar for that package. Use the template for your response. So we have 2 steps. Create the avatars, then build out the packages, and then I've got a very detailed template here for it to follow so that we get a consistent outcome. So we've got control over, we know what it's going to look like. Okay, long prompt. I think there's examples in there as well. We've got our variables. Let's just run that. Let's build out our packages. Okay, should be off in a second. Here we go. So packages for a service that delivers a payroll solution. So the first thing it's doing is it's giving what it's going to suggest as possible customer avatars. So it's suggesting that payroll package 1, bronze package if you like, would be essential payroll, and this would be aimed at a price conscious small business owner or startups with simple payroll needs. Their desired outcome is a compliant, low-cost payroll system that covers the basics without extra bells and whistles. Important factors are affordability, simplicity, and meeting minimum compliance standards. So you would then just think about your customers. Does that fit a particular part of the client base in terms of those that want payroll? Do you have people that they're small business owners, they want simple payroll needs? Then we've got the middle package is for the growing businesses that want more control, efficiency, and visibility of their payroll operations. The desired outcome is a dependable and time-saving payroll solution that integrates with their existing tools and scales with the business. Important factors are ease of use, automation, integration, and support beyond the basics. And then premium is for established firms and employers who prioritize reliability, top-tier support, data security, and full service features. And they want accuracy, speed, expert support, advanced features, and peace of mind. I find large language models like ChatGPT are very good at coming up with avatars, and so when you run this prompt, you probably won't need to change that, but you can do. But assuming that you're happy with that, it then goes and suggests what you might put in the packages. So for essential payroll, this is for the price buyer, and it's suggesting that you would have these in your essential payroll because they have to be done. And then when we get to the growth payroll, we can see that that would be for all the features of the essential one, but it would include customized payroll reports, seamless integration with accounting software, onboarding support for new employees, payroll flexibility, mobile app for payroll management, and real-time payroll status updates, because those things fit in nicely with the standard buyer and what's important to them, the particular things that we saw in the first part back up here. So it's matching the packages to the specific characteristics and needs of particular buyers. And with the premium, it's going to suggest it also adds in a dedicated payroll account manager, priority response, enhanced data security measures, and proactive compliance monitoring. And so that's built that pretty quick. Now you might want to change that. It might not be perfect for you, but those 3 prompts probably would take, if you've got the prompt library in the first place, if you've got your standard prompts, you could, for a service like payroll, that would, without me talking, you could do that in 5 or 6 minutes. Within 5 or 6 minutes, you could create more value, you could come up with better words, you could build out your packages. It saves so much time. I know firms spend hours sometimes scratching their heads and wondering what to put in the different packages. This just makes it so easy. Okay, we have a couple of minutes left, and so I have 3 things to tell you about, and then we'll just quickly wrap up. One is, just in case you're thinking, hey Mark, that prompt library, how would I get access to it? And the answer is, if you're interested in getting access to my software and prompts, then we give it away as a bonus to members of our community. So one of the ways that you can get access to it is you could join the Value Pricing Academy, or if you just want to get started working with us, then we have something called the AI Academy. I'll put the link somewhere, or you can grab, if you've got your smartphone to hand, you can grab the QR code. The AI Academy is a new community I've built this year of accounting firm owners and business owners that want to get more out of AI. And inside the Academy, I have lots of courses on how to get more out of AI, like how to do prompt engineering. I have courses on how to use projects better, how to build custom GPTs. There's also a community where you can ask questions and interact. And we also supply people in the community with a completely free complimentary copy of our software with dozens of ready-to-use prompts. And so if you want to get access to those prompts, we have prompts available for AI Academy members. And if you decide you want more prompts, then if you join the VPA, the Value Pricing Academy, you can unlock more prompts as well. If you just want to get started with some free stuff, I have lots of free stuff for you. I mentioned some things yesterday, but also you might want to get on our VIP list. Again, I'll give you the link, or you can hold your phone up to the QR code. We send out a newsletter every Monday. In that newsletter, the email, what we do is we include all of our upcoming events that we're doing, live streams, webinars, also our latest podcast episode, and we often include a prompt of the week. So if you love these prompts, I share them in the newsletter. And last but not least, if you go to our website, which is thevaluepricingacademy.com, you will find there is a tab there where you can access even more free resources. So I recommend, if nothing else, go and grab all of the free stuff that I've got for you. Go and join the VIP list, get the Monday newsletter, and go to our website. You can explore the website. You can find out more about the Value Pricing Academy, for example. but at least get the free stuff. Okay, that's a great place to start. So we've covered so much stuff. In yesterday's session, we looked at the foundations of value pricing. We looked at these three things: creating more value, giving people choice through different packages, and communicating value. And today what we've just done is we've looked at how we can do those three things and start to build up some powerful pricing systems with the help of prompt templates and with the help of a large language model like ChatGPT. Thank you so much for coming along. If you have questions for me, if you join the AI Academy, then you can ask questions, or if you just want to connect on LinkedIn, then feel free to do that. Enjoy the rest of the Growth Club Summit, and I hope to see you online again sometime soon. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, Mark. That was awesome. I love using AI and ChatGPT, and so when you start showing me pricing and all these other wonderful things, it's fantastic. I'm sure everyone got a stack of value out of that. Feel free to jump in the chat and just let me know what you thought of that session. What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway? And thanks for doing 2 sessions for it, Mark. Yeah, giving up an incredible amount of your time. We're very thankful for that, as will the audience will be as well. All right, team, I'm here to talk to you about what's coming up in our 11 a.m. session. So we have 2 sessions coming up. One is with Billy McLaughlin. She is another UK-based accountant. She's talking about AI, and she's saying AI is here, now what? So this is a practical guide on using AI without losing your edge. Check it out. It's going to be awesome. I caught up with Billy last week to go through the content. I was really happy with her approach. I think you'll get some really nice practical interchangeable takeaways from that. The next session is also at 11 a.m. is with Matt Wilkinson. Growth is good even if you don't want more clients. So Matt is exploring why it's good to always be marketing your brand and your business even when you don't want to win more customers. And he'll explain why. And there's a lot of really good value in that, but also just ways of doing that. So there's, again, practical elements on what to consider when doing this. So either you're in the market for more AI content, or you're interested in why you need to keep marketing in different ways you can market, even if you think you're full up, then you've got to go and check out that session with Matt. I hope you've had a good time. I'll see you in the next one, and enjoy. We'll stay all very soon. Bye-bye.